Hello and welcome to Itenert. Which African countries owe the most money to the IMF? Debt has become a critical issue for many African nations, particularly as they navigate the complex landscape of economic development, social challenges, and global financial fluctuations. High levels of indebtedness can lead to a myriad of negative effects, including reduced fiscal space for essential public services, increased vulnerability to external shocks, and a potential loss of sovereignty in economic decision-making. Countries burdened with significant debt obligations may find themselves prioritizing debt repayments over investments in health, education, and infrastructure, ultimately stunting their growth and development. As of 2024, several African nations are grappling with substantial debt levels to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, which underscores the urgent need for sustainable financial strategies and economic reforms. In this video, we explore the top 10 African countries that owe the most money to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. If you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Let's hear you in the comment box below, if your country made the list. Now here are the top 10 African countries with highest debt to the IMF as of August 21, 2024. Let's begin with Nigeria, with total IMF credit outstanding of $920,437,500 as of August 21, 2024. Nigeria's debt to the IMF has been a critical factor in its efforts to stabilize the economy amid ongoing fiscal challenges, including lower oil revenues, inflation, and currency devaluation. In 2020, Nigeria secured a $3.4 billion loan from the IMF through the Rapid Financing Instrument, RFI, to help mitigate the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Although this loan provided much-needed liquidity and supported macroeconomic stability, it also added to Nigeria's already significant debt burden. The country's total external debt has risen above $40 billion, with multilateral debt accounting for a large portion of this. The impact of IMF loans on Nigeria's economy is mixed. While the financing helps address immediate fiscal deficits and stabilizes the economy, it also increases debt servicing obligations. Additionally, IMF loans typically come with conditions that could require Nigeria to implement policy adjustments, such as subsidy removals or fiscal austerity, which could lead to social discontent and hamper long-term growth if not managed carefully. Number 9 is Morocco, with total IMF credit outstanding of $1,056,550,000 as of August 21, 2024. Morocco's debt to the IMF has been a strategic tool to support its economic stability and development, particularly in times of global uncertainty. The country has engaged with the IMF through precautionary arrangements, such as the Precautionary and Liquidity Line, PLL, which Morocco accessed multiple times to safeguard against external shocks and maintain investor confidence. While Morocco has not always drawn on these funds, the presence of the IMF support acts as a financial buffer, allowing the country to manage risks while pursuing structural reforms. However, Morocco's growing public debt, now around 70% of GDP, poses challenges, as debt servicing costs strain public finances. The IMF's involvement often necessitates fiscal discipline, which can limit government spending on key sectors like health and education, potentially slowing social progress. Nonetheless, IMF-backed policies have helped Morocco maintain macroeconomic stability and access international financial markets under favorable conditions. Senegal is the number 8 on the list with $1,143,348,750 owed to the IMF. Senegal's debt to the IMF has been part of the country's broader engagement with international financial institutions, aiming to stabilize its economy and promote growth. Over the years, Senegal has taken on various loans from the IMF, especially through programs like the Extended Credit Facility and the Rapid Credit Facility, which were intended to support the country's economic reforms, infrastructure investments, and efforts to cope with shocks such as the COVID-19 pandemic. As of recent years, Senegal's public debt has increased significantly, with a growing portion of it owed to multilateral creditors, including the IMF. This has raised concerns over the sustainability of the debt, particularly as global financial conditions tighten, which could increase the cost of servicing the debt and strain the country's fiscal capacity. The impact of Senegal's debt to the IMF on its economy has been both stabilizing and challenging. On the positive side, IMF-supported programs have helped Senegal maintain macroeconomic stability, attract investment, and achieve consistent growth, particularly in infrastructure development and energy projects. However, the rising debt levels pose risks, including the potential for reduced fiscal space to fund essential social services and infrastructure. High debt servicing costs can crowd out public investment, impacting sectors like education, healthcare, and agriculture. South Africa is the number 7 with total IMF credit outstanding of $1,525,600,000. As of August 21, 2024, South Africa's debt to the IMF has become increasingly significant as the country grapples with economic challenges, including sluggish growth, high unemployment, and fiscal deficits. In July 2020, South Africa secured a $4.3 billion loan from the IMF under the Rapid Financing Instrument, RFI, to help address the severe economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. This marked the first time in nearly 3 decades that South Africa turned to the IMF for financial assistance. While the IMF loan provided crucial support to stabilize the economy and prevent further deterioration, it also added to the country's mounting public debt, which has risen to over 70% of GDP. The growing debt burden raises concerns about fiscal sustainability and the potential for higher debt servicing costs, which could crowd out essential public spending on social services and infrastructure. Moreover, reliance on IMF financing often comes with conditions that may require South Africa to implement unpopular austerity measures, further complicating the government's efforts to stimulate growth and address social inequalities. Another country taking the 6th position is Democratic Republic of Congo, with total IMF credit outstanding of $1,599 million as of August 21, 2024. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC's debt to the IMF has been an essential aspect of its economic recovery and stabilization efforts, especially given the country's history of political instability and conflict. The DRC has engaged with the IMF through programs like the Extended Credit Facility, ECF, which has provided financial support and technical assistance aimed at improving governance, reducing poverty, and strengthening economic resilience. In recent years, the DRC received a $1.5 billion loan from the IMF to help stabilize its economy and address fiscal imbalances. While this support has helped the country rebuild its financial systems and promote economic growth, it also adds to the DRC's growing public debt, which remains a concern. The impact of IMF debt includes pressure to implement structural reforms, such as improving transparency in the mining sector, which is crucial to the DRC's economy. However, the need to service the debt could limit the government's ability to invest in critical areas like infrastructure, healthcare, and education, which are vital for long-term development in one of the world's poorest countries. Côte d'Ivoire is next with total IMF credit outstanding of $2,246,318,672 as of August 21, 2024. Côte d'Ivoire's debt to the IMF has played a significant role in its economic recovery and growth, particularly after years of political instability and civil conflict. The country has benefited from IMF-backed programs such as the Extended Credit Facility, ECF, which have provided vital financial support aimed at stabilizing the economy, enhancing public financial management, and promoting structural reforms. In recent years, Côte d'Ivoire has accessed IMF loans to support its economic resilience, particularly during external shocks like the COVID-19 pandemic. While these programs have contributed to strong economic growth, making Côte d'Ivoire one of the fastest-growing economies in Africa, there are concerns about rising debt levels, which now exceed 50% of GDP. The impact of IMF debt includes the implementation of fiscal discipline measures, such as subsidy reforms and revenue mobilization efforts, which help maintain macroeconomic stability, but constrain public services and social spending, potentially affecting the poorest segments of the population. Nonetheless, the IMF's involvement has been instrumental in boosting investor confidence and sustaining economic progress. Number 4 is Ghana with total IMF credit outstanding of $2,303,438,500 as of August 21, 2024. Ghana's debt to the IMF has played a significant role in the country's efforts to stabilize its economy amid challenges like high inflation, currency depreciation, and fiscal deficits. Over the years, Ghana has turned to the IMF for financial support through various programs, including the Extended Credit Facility, ECF, and most recently, a $3 billion loan approved in 2023 under the Extended Fund Facility, EFF, to address its economic crisis. While IMF assistance has provided much-needed liquidity and helped restore investor confidence, it has also contributed to Ghana's rising public debt, which exceeded 70% of GDP in recent years. The impact of this debt includes the need for Ghana to implement austerity measures, such as reducing public spending and increasing taxes, to meet IMF conditions. These measures, while necessary for fiscal discipline, can slow economic growth and lead to social unrest if they disproportionately affect vulnerable populations. However, IMF-backed reforms are also expected to strengthen Ghana's macroeconomic stability and improve long-term economic prospects. Another country taking the third position is Kenya, with total IMF credit outstanding of $2,566,263,300 as of August 21, 2024. Kenya's debt to the IMF has been a key factor in its efforts to manage fiscal deficits, stabilize the economy, and recover from external shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic. In recent years, Kenya has entered into multiple arrangements with the IMF, including a $2.34 billion extended fund facility, EFF, and extended credit facility, ECF, to support economic reforms and fiscal consolidation. While these funds have helped Kenya maintain macroeconomic stability, manage debt pressures, and continue with essential public services, they have also contributed to the country's rising debt burden, which stands at over 60% of GDP. The conditions attached to IMF loans, such as reforms in tax policy and public spending cuts, have faced some domestic resistance due to their impact on the cost of living and public sector jobs. Though IMF support has helped Kenya navigate economic challenges, it also requires delicate balancing to avoid worsening social inequality and stifling growth in critical sectors like agriculture and manufacturing. Now is the time to move to the second on the list, but before that, if you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Let's hear you in the comment box below, where you are watching from. The second on the list is Angola with total IMF credit outstanding of $2,989,900,003 as of August 21, 2024. Angola's debt to the IMF has been a crucial factor in stabilizing the country's economy, which has been heavily impacted by declining oil revenues and macroeconomic imbalances. Angola entered into a 3-year extended fund facility, EFF, with the IMF in 2018, securing a $3.7 billion loan to support structural reforms, improve fiscal discipline, and reduce reliance on oil exports. This assistance helped Angola navigate a challenging economic environment by implementing critical reforms, such as reducing public sector debt, improving governance, and stabilizing inflation. However, Angola's overall public debt remains high, at around 80% of GDP, and a significant portion is owed to multilateral institutions like the IMF. While IMF loans have helped Angola regain some economic stability, the burden of debt servicing continues to strain public finances, limiting the government's ability to invest in much-needed social services and infrastructure development. Additionally, IMF-backed policies often require fiscal austerity, which can affect public welfare and economic diversification efforts. Egypt is the number one with total IMF credit outstanding of $10,713,727,513 as of August 21, 2024. Egypt's debt to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has significantly influenced its economy, as the country has sought financial assistance to stabilize its fiscal position and implement economic reforms. The IMF loans typically come with stringent conditions, including fiscal austerity measures and structural reforms. While these measures are designed to improve long-term economic stability and growth, they often lead to short-term economic challenges such as increased inflation, reduced public spending, and social unrest. The debt burden also impacts Egypt's credit rating and can affect investor confidence, leading to fluctuations in foreign investment and economic performance. Despite these hurdles, the IMF support aims to enhance economic resilience and sustainability over time. The high levels of debt to the IMF among these African countries underscore the pressing need for comprehensive economic reforms and sustainable financial management. While IMF support can provide crucial short-term relief, long-term solutions must focus on enhancing domestic revenue generation, improving governance, and fostering economic resilience. Addressing the root causes of indebtedness is essential for these nations to break the cycle of debt dependency and pave the way for sustainable development. Thank you for watching the video to the end, and bye for now.